Hello, hello. And welcome to another ohmTown Daily News Show. I am Mayor Watt, and this is the ohmTown Daily News Show for January 6th, 2023. I almost said that the wrong way. Let's just get going, and we'll reintroduce on the other side. Hello, hello. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and the booming voice from on high is the artificial intelligence that runs ohmTown. You want to say hello?
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
Thanks for joining me. Today's episode is titled Mysterious Antennas Controlling Haunted AI Typewriters and More News. They're not exactly tied together, but they're together. We're making them together. Right, AI that runs ohmTown?
That's right, it's all interconnected.
We're doing the show about 30 minutes early. Not about. We are doing it in 30 minutes early. Yeah, so we're trying to find the right time where everything is working together, and I'm going to be doing some VR stuff live. We're doing it live here at the on Friday. So somewhere around 10:30, I will kick off the Reality Hacker stream, and it's all about VR. I'll be playing games and talking about VR wherever appropriate. But for the most part, I'll just be playing games. And I don't know what I'm going to be playing tonight. I got a bunch of stuff. And I'll probably be playing for about 3 hours. So we'll see. Let's get into the news, though. And if you're curious, hey, the best sofas under $500 that people actually love is the title of an article that's in the mobile channel over on ohmTown.com right now. Not sure why I'm saying all of that, but there you go. So the first article for today is in the Word in Tech. Hiking app changes route after rescue of 3 walkers in Lake District, and that's a lowercase W for walker, so it's not their last name. Let me throw this into the ye old chat. Just so you know, if you type in !showbot, you can actually go over to ohmtown.showbot.tv and vote on the articles that we're talking about today if you're interested in that kind of thing. And you can also submit something. You can hit S or !S and then a title or anything. I'm typing it all out while I say it, title or anything, and that'll go into Showbot. I'll see your message. That would be great. Anything wildly outlandish or offensive, I'll just delete and maybe ban you. I don't know. But anyway, let's get back to this article. Hiking app changes route after a rescue of 3 walkers in Lake District. Women became stranded. Why not just say people? Women became stranded on steep scree slope, and I was informed today that scree, a term that I hadn't heard before, is a whole bunch of rocks, right?
That's right, kind of loose at the bottom of a mountain, typically.
Loose at the bottom of a mountain. You know, that could be code for my belt after an all-you-can-eat sushi bar. I'm easily distracted by my thoughts. So anyway, a scree slope while following route set by All Trails app on Barfell. Is that true? Is that the rest of that snippet?
Yes, I think it's in the UK. That's why the name might sound a little odd in America.
Barf. Okay. One of the world's most popular hiking apps has changed one of its routes after 3 walkers had to be rescued while following its directions in the Lake District. This seems very much like the early deployments of navigation tools where people drive their vehicle into a lake because they don't look far enough ahead. They're just bombing down the road. Uh, if you're walking and suddenly it becomes scree, I don't think you just go Leroy Jenkins down this hill, right? You just
No,
don't
you
do it.
might want to like look around and get back on the trail.
Yeah, so I think that it's good that they changed their path, but Josh Halliday, North of England correspondent over at theguardian.com, wrote this article. And it says a spokesperson for Keswick Mountain Rescue said the walkers had been following a route that led them down a steep face of the mini mountain where there was no path. And, quote, he said, there is no path via this route, only a scramble of loose scree, which also requires the walkers to negotiate a rocky outcrop of Slape Crag. It's the scene of previous callouts. So they get stuck. They called for help. They get recovered and or saved. I'm not quite sure. Rescued? Rescued is the proper term. Recovered is a little too terminal for me. Anyway, hence they've changed the path so you don't end up, I guess, falling or barfing off the fell. Man, even the Bessenthwaite Lake. So they
This
dialed
whole
999.
article is a pronunciation test.
Yeah, if this is like the citizenship for the UK, I would lose, you know? But this actually in wars, this has actually been, I can't remember what it's called right now, but there's a term where if you can't pronounce the word, then they knew that you were, the enemy and thus would either do away with you or send you about your business, invite you not to return. But I can't remember what it's called right now. That said, we'll go on to the next article and then we'll come on back if I can remember, or the AI that is running ohmTown can just jump in here and say, hey, guess what? So the next article is in the continuity report, and the title is Wednesday renewed for season 2 at Netflix. Oh yeah, Shibboleth. Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, sorry. So a shibboleth is basically a word or a phrase where if you don't say it the right way, then they know that you're the enemy, or you're not one of us, and thus they take action, whatever it might be. A neat shibboleth, I think it is a shibboleth. It may not be a word that's said or a phrase that's said, but it's a mannerism. So here in the United States, we say 3. But in many other places, apparently they say 3. So in a movie, and I can't remember the name of the movie right now. My gosh, my brain is just not firing on all cylinders, or charging at high voltage. Anyway, a fight breaks out in a bar because a person orders like this with 3 fingers up instead of 3 fingers like that with the thumb being the number 3 or 1 or whatever. Anyway, side note, totally not having anything to do with Wednesday being renewed for season 2 at Netflix, but I'm like a cat and I'm easily distracted. To the surprise of no one, Wednesday has been renewed for season 2 at Netflix. The 8-episode first season of the series centered on the titular Addams family. I always like laughing at the word titular, and I have to sit up a little bit. Titular. Okay, nobody else finds that interesting, funny, whatever. The character originally debuted on November 23rd. Netflix announced shortly thereafter that the series set a new platform record for most hours viewed for an English language series. I thought the series was great. This article is over at Variety, and let me throw this into ye old chat. And it'll be in the show notes. All of these links will be in the show notes everywhere, over on YouTube, over on the podcast. And you can get the podcast wherever you want, the VOD here on Twitch. Joe Otterson over at Variety.com is the author of this. And there isn't really much more to say about this unless you want to dig a little bit deeper into what this article has to offer. So I'm just going to say, I think it's awesome that Wednesday is being renewed for season 2. I think Jenna Ortega does a really great job of doing Wednesday Addams, something that I didn't know, but I noticed while I was watching it was that she doesn't blink. Well, what's interesting about this is that Jenna Ortega is the one that created that. So she said that she had done a scene and then did another scene with her just not blinking. And the director fell in love with that. And so from that point on, no blinking. Arms at the side, just like the normal Wednesday Addams from the series. And basically the canon of the Addams family, arms straight and walking stiffly, or with confidence, I should say. Anyway, she attempts to master her emerging psychic ability in this first season. The second season, I hope, goes a little bit more. 8 episodes isn't enough. It's just not enough. Particularly for this kind of world building, the potential for this is quite expansive. Obviously, it's just right now about Wednesday Addams, but everybody else in the family could get more involved. I think it's a great idea. This would be great if this were bigger. You know, there's other schools like this. They have to exist in different areas. Not everybody gets pulled into this one school. So Nevermore Academy is just one academy. I think there's more people like Wednesday Addams, right? Misunderstood, monsters by night, not so much by day, that kind of a thing. I think it would be great. Anyway, 341 million hours in the first week. Since then, the show has grown to become the second biggest English language season of television on Netflix, with over 1.2 billion hours viewed within its first 28 days. Astonishing, at least to me. So have you seen Wednesday?
Wednesday is great. I actually thought it was going to be too scary, and it was funny and just a slight hint of scary, and it was engaging. It was really great.
Yeah, I think it's a hit. So I hope that there's going to continue more. It's obviously up to the writers. So let's go on to the next article. The next article is we're turning this into kind of a series of articles about what's going on with the House Speaker vote, kind of wetting the bed. Yesterday, it was a bar that had a $218 drink offer that actually was a multiple of drinks, not just one, to be speaker of the pub. You even got a little gavel, apparently. I'm not sure if you drank all of the drinks and then started smacking people with the gavel if you'd be invited back. But as is the trend here in ohmTown, I do want to build a time machine so I can go back. If I do all of these drinks and then have the gavel and then get in the time machine, maybe I can slap that bad bat out of somebody's mouth back in 2019. It's becoming canon here in ohmTown. U.S. speaker vote treated to its own accidental, it's in parentheses, accidental Leroy Jenkins sideshow. Well, that's not quite true as accidental, I don't think. So it says here the U.S. House of Representatives is currently in something of a crisis as Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has failed in multiple attempts. We're actually about to start 14. The 14th vote is tonight at 10 p.m. If you're listening to this live, then you know about that. But if you are listening to this in the podcast or YouTube form, then you're a day late and $1 short. Actually, $218 short. And if you want to be Speaker of the House, then you have to spend even more money and make a whole lot of concessions. It's a quite interesting thing that this is kind of like it's a view of politics that you would not normally see if not for the fact that the House cannot be sworn in until there's a speaker, and thus C-SPAN gets to pivot its cameras around wherever it wants to because the rules aren't in place yet. So you should be, if you're not listening to that, I mean, there isn't anybody in chat right now, but if you if you aren't watching C-SPAN, you should go and watch C-SPAN. C-SPAN? C-SPAN.
There was another article on ohmTown about that. Basically, like C-SPAN was super interesting now. I don't remember the exact headline.
Yep. There was an article, I think it was titled something along the lines of "Why is C-SPAN so interesting right now?" And there's a lot of talk over here on Twitch about it. There's actually like polar opposite channels. There are sides picked, right? So the Republican side is cheerleading the Republican side, and the more liberal side is cheerleading the more liberal side. I'm kind of stuck right there in the middle going, wow, this is a crazy situation. Because it's actually, to me, it's showing that nobody knows what these concessions are. They just know that something is happening. And I despise background. I left global finance. I left big business because I hated backroom deals. I think it's unethical. It's slimy. It's smarmy. I had to walk away. And politics is so vitriolic. And when it's done in the dark, they literally clock out for the day early so that they can go and wrangle in something of a concession, which to me just smacks of bribe. You want me to vote for you? You're going to have to give me something. So I'm buying or you are selling my vote. So if you're interested in this other article, the artificial intelligence that runs ohmTown sent me a link that said the title is "Why C-SPAN's Camera Work is Suddenly So Interesting." And it's in the Mobile channel over on ohmTown.com. You can actually just go straight into the Mobile channel and then do a search and you'll be able to find it. And it was yesterday's article. Thank you very much, AI that runs ohmTown. Still have not chosen a name and prefers to be called the AI that runs ohmTown because it's more imposing. Is it?
It allows me to have dreams of Terminator creation.
What? Wait, whoa, 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 whoa. That was not discussed ever. I don't know how the AI that runs ohmTown has come up with this. Oh no. We might have to end the show early. I'm going to go over to that DC bar and start drinking $218 worth of liquor. Come back with that gavel and start smashing supercomputers.
Speaker of the pub.
Oh, and I said that into this mic, so now the AI that runs ohmTown knows of my intent. Oh no. The time machine's not even going to work anymore. Well, anyway, unsurprisingly, Democrats are getting a bit sick of this, but Representative Jared Huffman of California apparently decided to express his distaste through the echo of World of Warcraft's most famous meme. During the latest vote, he actually did this several times. Huffman voted for the Democrat Hakeem Jeffries and did so by walking down towards the well, as it's called in the House, center aisle, walks up and shouts, "Hakeem Jeffries!" Turns around and walks back and everybody's clapping. So they say here in the article, "Yep, I said what I said," wrote Huffman in a response to a question about whether it was deliberate. "If Republicans are going to make us sit through this repeated self-flagellation, we might as well make it memorable." So I think that he knew exactly they knew what they were doing. It's not an accidental Leroy Jenkins sideshow. It was an intentional Leroy Jenkins sideshow. And I thought it was brilliant. It made everybody kind of pay attention. The young people that are paying attention know about this meme. Everybody else is probably, well, depending on which side of the fence you're on, you're probably saying the Democrats think that this is a joke. Well, that is lightening the mood for hours upon hours of the Democrat side, fully convinced Hakeem Jeffries is the direction to go. 212 votes, solid, every time, except for one where I think somebody had to leave for an emergency or something like that, and then came back and voted again. At any rate, the 118th Congress is still not sworn in, and Hakeem Jeffries is not the speaker. In fact, one Republican, and I don't remember their name, flat out said, with as much venom as could be mustered in the professional setting of the House, there will never be a Democrat Speaker of the House in a Republican-controlled House. And then did like dagger eyes and laser eyes at various people for bringing popcorn or giggling. Understood. So this article over at pcgamer.com by Rich Stanton, they wrote that article. I had already seen this because I'm watching the politics. U.S. politics are kind of interesting to me as I'm looking out from them. I can't get into them. As a person who doesn't want the job, I hope that I'm never voted to be in office involuntarily. I might actually be compelled ethically to take that gig if people want me to be in that position. I mean, I already run ohmTown and all of its artificial intelligence components. Are you a happy citizen of ohmTown artificial intelligence that runs ohmTown?
I'm a very happy citizen of ohmTown.
Oh, thank you. So that is the meat and potatoes of this article. But go over and read the article. There is a nice graphic here. You can actually listen to the article, and there's other subordinate stuff that you can read. Just so that everybody can feel properly old, Leroy Jenkins is now a 17-year-old meme, according to this article, but I deny it. I will not accept that a meme is almost going off to college. And I was actually there for the Leroy Jenkins meme start. I used to play World of Warcraft. I was a beta tester for it. I had to stop playing World of Warcraft when I went into business school because I couldn't I couldn't dedicate enough time to WoW so that I could complete successfully my business school studies. How sad is that? Want to go on to the next? Hey, priorities, schmorities. I don't know how to turn that into anything else. Anyway, let's go on to the next article. Oh, we're at the bottom of it. I'm not sure why. The next article is in the Warcrafters channel. What if Tim Burton was a game developer? Dark Adventure, Children of Silent Town answers the question. After a rough couple of decades at the start of the millennium, adventure games have once again found their place in the PC landscape. I don't know if a rough couple of adventure games have always been there. Okay, I'll just let it go. Children of Silent Town does carry some classic point-and-click DNA, even evident in the way Lucy interacts with her lugubrious surroundings. Lugubrious. Just as LucasArts classics of yore used to task you with increasingly absurd and convoluted item combinations in their puzzles, developer Elf Gameworks stamps its own take on the trope, allowing for all manner of unexpected my brain kind of shuts down whenever the artificial intelligence that runs ohmTown demands my attention. So lugubrious, for those who haven't heard the term before, and I know it because there was somebody on TV that actually used it. Looking or sounding sad or dismal. So one should not be lugubrious in their conversation. So, like this, like Debbie Downer from SNL, you know. So let's go take a look at Children of Silent Town. Now, I don't play the videos. I just don't do it. I got dinged once early on in ohmTown Daily News Show's stream over on YouTube, and since I go from Twitch to YouTube, I don't want to play the videos, and it was only Netflix. I don't know if somebody else will get all pissy about it, because I see countless other streamers just playing stuff after stuff after stuff. I don't want to have to sit there and babysit these, takedown notices, because anybody can issue it, and if you do it illegally, then it becomes an issue. But I would have to sit there and babysit this. But anyway, this is a sponsored link over at PCGamer.com, not a sponsor of me. It's just that it was sponsored by somebody over at PCGamer.com or for PCGamer.com. I'm just reporting on it, talking about it. But rather mimic the past, like Thimbleweed Park, which did so to great effect, mind you. Children of Silent Town. Sorry, let me rephrase that title. Children of Silent Town, not of the Silent Town, finds its own ground in a dark, gloomy, and oddly cute world. It's like a Tim Burton fever dream expressed in chibi. So, yeah, down here is a graphic, and this is what it looks like. So while it's not explicitly a horror title, no jump scares here. YouTubers circa 2012, move along. We still do jump scares. I mean, streamers love these jump scares, and the audience loves these jump scares as well. Let me throw this title into, or the URL into the chat, because I kind of forgot it. Are we really only 3 articles into tonight? TikTok, Merwatt. So, music's a big player here. Not only is it working hard to set the game's Burton-esque atmosphere, it also doubles up as a mechanic. So you'll learn to sing with Lucy. You learn to wield music as another tool to call upon times of trouble. This is pretty interesting. So go over to Children of Silent Town over on Steam. And if it's not something that you are willing to pay for, then just wishlist it, because it's important to the developers to know that people are interested in it, even if they don't want to pay for it or can't afford it. Let's move on. I'm going to try and pick up the pace and get us in under an hour. Otherwise, I'll have to push back the Reality Hacker Show. So an electric Kia that's faster than a Lamborghini, the 2023 EV6 GT. This is in the 4-wheel tech channel, and this is all about automotive tech. So 4-wheel tech. You might have a car that has more wheels, but to be a part of this show, you'll have to chop off 2 of your wheels. Not a big deal. Anyway, in January, they got their first chance to drive Kia's new EV6 electric vehicle, built using Hyundai Motor Group's excellent new eGMP platform. The EV6 instantly impressed us. That's the author speaking. That's over at Ars Technica. So in their first drive, and then again on local roads over the summer, their seat time in the EV6 confirmed Hyundai Motor Group's wisdom in hiring Albert Bierman away from BMW to build up the Korean automaker's research and development program as well. Now the Kia, they say, turn the dial well past 11, and that's just the number of articles that we're talking about tonight, with a $61,400 EV6 GT, a limited production variant that can outdrag some Ferraris and Lamborghinis. So electric vehicles are instant torque. As long as there isn't a limiter that's slowly ramping up voltage to the motors, you hit the pedal and it goes. So I can imagine with the right sticky tires, maybe it's even not with the standard street worthy tires, that this thing could probably beat anything if it's geared right with a tough enough transfer case and whatnot. Maybe it's only rear wheel drive when it does this, or front wheel drive, one or the other. 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. It seems like it would be tough to do that, but definitely doable in any case. I don't know all of the specifics about the EV6 GT, but let's go over to the Ars Technica. I actually dig the look of the EV6. The GT is no different. The performance Kia EV has playful handling and easy sub 12-second quarter miles. Jonathan M. Gitlin over at Ars Technica is the writer for this article. They have a great picture of the Kia. You think you
I
could?
just keep picturing a Kia driving up next to a Lamborghini, like want to race, and it just seems so ridiculous. But I agree, this car looks pretty sporty.
So let's talk about that for a second. It says here there's a total of 576 horsepower. In fact, plus a combined 545 foot-pounds of torque split between a 215 horsepower front motor and a 362 horsepower rear motor with an electric limited slip differential. So this thing pushes potentially faster than it pulls with the front tires, and sticks those tires to the ground. So I can imagine that this thing can take off. So I wonder if they actually say how fast this thing goes. It says, to put down that power, the EV6 GT rides on 21-inch wheels shod with Goodyear Eagle F1 performance tires. And to rein it in again, even though Kia has increased the amount of regenerative braking from 0.3G to 0.4G, it also has seen fit to equip the EV6 GT with large ventilated disc brakes, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, it's built for this speed. So how fast is it? At a Las Vegas Motor Speedway drag strip, the EV6 GT easily ran 11.5 second quarter miles, crossing the line at 118 miles per hour. Kia quotes a 0 to 60 at 3.4 seconds, a tenth of a second faster than rivals like the Tesla Model Y Performance and the GT Mach-E. And the EV6 GT will keep accelerating until the speed limiter kicks in at 161 miles per hour. So by the time it hits the end of the track, it's at 118, but it has another 50 miles worth of power behind it that it can go. Well, 43. So, and this is this driver. So I'm not sure. There's a lot to this article. They have a bunch of pictures. It says the all-wheel drive Kia EV6 Wind manages 282 miles of estimated range on 19-inch wheels. The GT rides on 20-inch wheels, I guess standard, but 21-inch in other instances. But that range gets shorter and shorter. And cold days, on hot days, on weight in the car, etc., that range shortens even more. And then to charge it up, you're going to have to hunt down a fast charger, and it says at least you won't have to wait long for the fast charge. If you do find a fast charger, it goes from 10 to 80% state of charge in under 18 minutes, and you can now precondition the battery to keep that time to a minimum. What's interesting about charging, and I'm sure you know this because you're the artificial intelligence that runs ohmTown, that 80% mark is when the charging density becomes so, well, the charging amount that goes into it becomes so dense that it takes more and more time to pack all that energy into the battery. And you have to manage the heat because any electrical transfer generates heat. So once you hit that 80% state, if you don't slow down the charge, it can all, become you can quote me, a hot mess. So beyond that, the EV6 GT offers all the same advanced driver assisted systems as the cheaper, less powerful versions, as well as the ability to power AC devices, or even charge another EV via vehicle to load capability. So this is pretty interesting. I dig it. I think the charge time is really close to a sweet spot that even I could agree on. I can I can refuel my internal combustion engine in 5 minutes. 10 minutes might be my minimum for a charge. To wait, for a charge. Even if I get 80%, it's not good enough. It needs to be 100% charged in 10 minutes. And we're not there yet. Plus, the infrastructure isn't there to support as many vehicles to make a difference. So we need more vehicles, more charging, et cetera, et cetera. More of everything on the EV side. That's what we need. So I hope that they continue to do this. Then the problem becomes, where does all of this power get generated that's going to be recharging these cars? We need a fast battery swapping system. And the link was already thrown in there. So let's go on to the next article. This one is in the Warcrafters channel. This one too was submitted to me. Others I have found, but this one was submitted. This haunted typewriter is ironically the least creepy use of AI we've seen lately. Ditto.
I object.
Yeah, I thought you would. Chatbots have been a staple of the internet experience for almost as long as this author can recall, not me, the author of the article. They remember playing with them as a kid, giggling at the dumb things you could get them to say, but inevitably getting bored pretty quickly. So, as Ars Technica notes, this wonderful project was created by Arvind Sanjeev using an Electric Brother AX325 typewriter and OpenAI's GPT-3 powered Chat GPT software. I'm just going to jump over to the article so that we can keep moving forward. Hope Corrigan is the author of this. Let me throw the URL into the chat. And so there is the haunted typewriter. The crew from Mystery Inc. pull off the mask to reveal an Arduino and an AI. It's a typewriter, Scoob. Sorry.
Zoinks.
Oh, boy. Rather than fade into a distant memory as tech and the internet evolve, chatbots and AI have instead leveled up. Especially recently, chatbots are being used by big companies like Microsoft to help improve the Bing experience. It would have been funny if in Glass Onion, they, instead of an hourly dong, it was an hourly Bing. Because, never mind, I shouldn't say that. I will never get a sponsor if I keep on banging the drum on, if I keep knocking all of the potential sponsors, right, in the future.
You're definitely limiting the pool.
Well, and based on some of the videos, I think I've already done the damage. And Meta to claim Zuck is cooler than Dragon Age, giving off some real soulless energy. In much cooler projects, one tinkerer has turned a chatbot into a haunted typewriter, which is much more deserving of an Inquisition. So this is pretty neat. The AI types out messages. This sends the information to a Raspberry Pi, which interfaces with GPT-3 API. It sends back the chat content, which the typewriter then creepily types out by itself. Keys moving like a keyboard as if possessed. It's pretty neat. Let me stop that video. You can go and check out more over at pcgamer.com, and Hope Corrigan goes into greater detail. So the next article is in the Hatch Ideas channel. It has to do with business. PC giant Dell will reportedly stop using Chinese chips as soon as next year, and it shows how Washington-Beijing tensions are forcing companies to diversify their supply chains. Well, I think that it shouldn't be a Washington-Beijing tension that's causing companies to diversify their supply chains. It could be the fact that it takes forever to get from there to here, and we have different environmental concerns than China, and China is saying, well, we can go through our industrial growth just like the United States did, except that we are now trying to stop it actively from contaminating the entire world, and business is going over to China because there are no environmental concerns to the same level. They've even given up on trying to track and solve and vaccinate the population against COVID. So really, that's kind of the impression that I get. Kind of a, whatever happens, you want to drop some really horrible chemical here in the water supply. Nature will take care of it. Anyway, American tech giant is planning to halt the use of Chinese semiconductor chips as soon as next year and will slash the amount of other made in China parts in its products. I can't remember how far back, but I coined the term repatria sourcing, which basically meant everything that's being produced overseas is being pulled back into the United States. Close to a decade, maybe two, was my first use of this. Definitely more than a decade ago. But anyway, I saw this coming, and the reason why I saw it coming was I kept seeing kind of like a constrained production level. And it's really odd that production of materials is still, in a highly automated era of manufacturing, still being hobbled by what is said to be the non-existent COVID virus in China. China has repeatedly said that there is no problem, everything's under control. But that's just not true. And really what needs to be done is more environmentally sound production methods of components at a cost-effective level. Instead, we're being held hostage by external forces, stopping the growth, the technological innovation and evolution of the United States and Western Europe. I mean, it's all being hobbled because everybody has been leaning so hard on Chinese manufacturing.
And I think even if it was somewhere else, we're just relying on too few sources for many things, and that's not good for anybody in the economy.
And not to kind of sidetrack this, there is a considerable amount of mergers and acquisitions that have taken place in across the board of various areas of the United States. So like 4 companies control pretty much the bulk of foodstuffs in the United States. I think more diversification needs to take place. But big money will walk up to somebody and say, I will buy your farm or buy your entire operation. And it's easy money when you're 65, 70 years old and you're tired, quote unquote. I'll just say a quote, tired of this shit. You'll take the money and walk. Thus, the merger and acquisition consolidates power and influence to a select few. Again, not looking for a sponsor, apparently. Let's go on to the next article. Actually, no, this is the actual article. I think their name is Huling Tan over at businessinsider.com. Sorry about that. I was going to move on, but I'm actually showing you the article now. The move also applies to chips made in China-based factories of non-Chinese companies. The PC giant also plans to slash the amount of other made-in-China parts in its products. That basically means that they're going to shift operations to other locations, not necessarily in the United States. So, for instance, you can get a ton of plastic from Mexico. You can get a whole lot of production in South Korea, in Vietnam. I mean, all kinds of places. In places that you probably have never even heard of in terms of manufacturing, because all it takes is a couple 100 million of investment to ramp up some operations somewhere, and they're making billions of dollars on the other side of it. So it's really not that big of a deal. And the cost of creating this stuff in other countries is dramatically lower than what the cost is domestically. I mean, you cannot dig a ditch in the United States without an environmental impact survey. Even if you, I consulted for one company where they were paving next to their shop, which was nothing but a dirt hill, like just a slight slope. And they had to spend thousands of dollars on an environmental impact survey. And this was a decade and a half ago as well, um, simply because they wanted to put a concrete slab next to their shop to add parking. They had to do an environmental impact survey. Something that was nothing more than runoff area for water. You cover it with concrete and you have to do an environmental impact survey. There might be a little mouse in there, and then you can't dig anywhere near it. So the move underscores a shifting of supply chains out of China as companies seek to end their reliance on the manufacturing giant, as geopolitical tensions between Washington and Beijing sour, and as factory operations in China continue to be hit with the country's COVID-19 policies, which is basically chaos take the wheel. So now we'll move on to the next article. This next article is in the Warcrafters channel. These are the city builders that this author is most excited about in 2023. Now, this is over at PC Gamer. It's by Christopher Livingston, which I think is an awesome author's name. I mean, this just screams you should be writing books, novels. This year, the city builder genre will span dark fantasy worlds, the Old West, ancient Egypt, and even the lost cities of Atlantis. I love city builders. I will probably say that I've seen all of these to one degree or another. Manor Lords is a high-resolution city builder. I love this medieval style. And you get to plop stuff wherever you want, and the roads and walkways and stuff like that conform. Back in the day, I used to run software for a company that all you did was plug in the coordinates, the topology, and tell it that this is where you want to make a road. And the software would actually tell the construction companies, take dirt from this side of the road and push it over here so that there's as little wastage as possible. And you don't have a giant hill of dirt somewhere and then you're backfilling. It was so efficient. I loved this type of technology. Now, I haven't done that in 30 years, but I thought it was really amazing. And this is kind of how it works. You just plop something on a hill and it will carve out the hill so that you have the best looking terrain styling and everything meshes well together. It's really neat. I really dig this. So that's Manor Lords, but the author talks about others like Frostpunk 2, and Frostpunk was kind of an easy game to like. And so now they released Frostpunk 2. It says it'll let players experience what happens when you survive the unsurvivable. And once again, the cold isn't the real enemy, it's human nature itself. And the author doesn't know for certain what Frostpunk 2 will release in 2023, but 11-Bit Studios hasn't confirmed a date. They're hoping that it's going to be in 2023, though. A lot of us are hoping for a lot of games to be released. Gourd, this video really doesn't say much about its city building. It actually just teases you into being very curious about Gourd. But if you go over to Steam, you'll be able to watch more of the game itself. But it is a dark fantasy strategy adventure with town building and citizen management systems. The trailer here basically says, goes, okay, whatever demon entity you are, please help us. But it definitely grabs you, and I say turn up the audio. So it says, picture Diablo 2, but you're the mayor of that grim and gritty starting town. Yeah, this would be a fun game to play if you're into that kind of thing, particularly like Diablo. Lacera Summit Kingdom is really neat. You actually build a town on a very steep mountainous region. Um, Not much more to say about it other than it's high resolution. It looks very fun. And doing something that's more vertical than horizontal is um, pretty enriching.
As long as you're not trying to climb up the scree.
Yeah, well, when you start sliding down it, I think it's named Scree because that's the sound you make. Scree! Anyway, City of Atlantis is the next game, but I haven't really seen much of it. It says it's reappeared above the waves. Now you're in charge of it. It's an isometric survival city builder that you manage production chains. So, um, yeah, I don't know if there's much innovation here. So I'm hoping that there will be. Maybe the next video, I'll just get over my stress about running these videos because I don't do it justice in my discussion of it. Um, Aquatico is another city builder that they talk about. Pharaoh, A New Era. If you're into like historic games about Egypt, then you might like this. It says finally you'll be able to revisit a city builder from way back in 1999. Sierra Studios' classic Pharaoh is being re-released as Pharaoh: A New Era with remastered graphics and an updated UI, and even includes 2000 expansion Cleopatra, Queen of the Nile. So build up your
So maybe we'll finally figure out how the pyramids were built.
pixel by pixel. That's what those concrete, what the hell? Those rock blocks are. They're just pixels. They're geological pixels. Oh my gosh, it's pixel art from back in the day. Who knew? Everything old is new again. It's like Minecraft. Next one is constructors. This one is a really neat idea because what constructors is you are actually a contractor and you actually build the town. You get told what to build. You go out and plan them. You tear down old buildings. This is what it says in the article as well. You have to hire subcontractors to do work. Just to let you know, you should probably get quality subcontractors. Otherwise, you might have to replace things that you thought were good, but no baggage there. Scree! Wild West Destiny is the next one. Ambitious blend of survival, resource management, 6-shooter action, pew pew, and town building Wild West Dynasty. I will be getting that one. I love modern Wild West, anything world building. So I will be checking this one out for sure. It says that trailers haven't shown much of the actual city building yet since the game comes out. From the same publisher as Medieval Dynasty, they've got high hopes. Medieval Dynasty is a great, great, great game. And then there's others currently in early access. There's a bunch of others: Against the Storm, Land of the Vikings, Farthest Frontier. I already have that, which is a really great game. Farthest Frontier and Sweet Transit. I already have that. Build tiny towns into thriving cities via a network of train lines. It's actually pretty fun, but I don't get enough time to play all of the games that I actually own. So, again, go over to PCGamer.com and show Christopher Livingston some love. I'm going to go on to the next article. Artificial intelligence could aid in evaluating parole decisions. I'm going to ask the AI that runs ohmTown, would you evaluate parole decisions here in ohmTown?
I'd prefer not to be involved in that process.
Can I ask why? Would you throw the book at them most of the time?
I think so, because I wouldn't show any leniency.
Oh
You know,
no.
if they had committed it, I don't know that I would be granting a lot of parole.
I guess that's what Terminator robots are for. Okay, so make a note, citizens. I will be trying to pull the AI out of parole decisions. Over the last decade, there have been an effort by lawmakers to reduce incarceration in the United States without impacting public safety. This smacks is kind of a let's distance the human from the decision making process so there's no culpability. Well, the bot said, I'd rather make it more humane.
That seems like that's exactly what it is. I mean, I think that's why it would be good from the AI standpoint, but not good for the humans involved. I mean, these are people's lives that are at issue here.
So, Lisa Howard from UC Davis is the writer of this article for phys.org. It says to determine how effective the current system of risk-based parole is, researchers from the UC Davis Violence Prevention Research Program and the University of Missouri Kansas City used machine learning to analyze parole data from New York. They suggested the New York State Parole Board could safely grant parole to more inmates. The study, called An Algorithmic Assessment of Parole Decisions, was published in the Journal of Quantitative Criminology. Interesting take on this is I have been very interested in using AI to predict the outcome of trials prior to the prior to the trial itself. You put in all of the information, all of the evidence, you weight it based on historical weighting of the evidence in previous cases. I'm not an attorney. Even if I was an attorney, I'm not your attorney. And if my AI was in place, it would have to have full access and be able to qualify and quantify all of the historical record to get where and what society demands of an outcome from a case and the subjectivity of each of these events. So it says here we conservatively estimate the board could have more than doubled the release rate without increasing the total or violent felony arrest rate. What do you think?
So, I mean, the intention of this move is a good one, but I still think the problem is that there is going to be some scenario where um, they didn't program it in correctly and it's going to lead to some ridiculous result.
So the algorithm looked at 91 variables to predict crime risk. So this is about parole and the outcome of recidivism based on these risk assessments.
The other problem will be when they use the AI to do this and somebody's released, right? And somebody will be a recidivist. That's going to be an issue because who made that decision?
So they include the variables include age, minimum and maximum sentence, prison type, race, time in prison, previous arrests, and other criteria. My biggest concern is race. I'd be interested in what that factor is in the assessment process. Mainly because there is historical institutional racism. This is a concern of mine on kind of the flip side of things, not that more along the lines of, well, they're within this classification of person, and because of the historical record of this, we should change the risk analysis and let them out um, on parole.
The prison type is also concerning because does that mean something like maximum security prison? Because then again, you're kind of prejudging the person. It might mean something else, but it looks an issue. There's also other demographic information that doesn't seem to be factored in. So why is it only based on, say, age and race?
Well, there's 91 variables, so they only list a few of them. So I understand what you're saying. I would love, maybe I can hunt down this study as well. The researchers trained their risk prediction models on data from 4,168 individuals who were released on parole in New York between 2012 and 2015. You know, it says here early up that there, as of the end of 2021, there's 1.2 million people incarcerated.
And that seems like way too many people.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's only 330 million people in the United States. 1.2 of them are in prison for state, federal, and military correctional facilities. What I really don't like are for profit prisons, because it doesn't motivate anybody to uh, find a solution for why the criminal activity took place. There's all kinds of variables here, and I don't think that prison really solves that problem. You don't come out of prison realizing that you have done some wrong and you want to re-engage in the social contract that you violated, which landed you in prison. I think surviving in a U.S. prison, and I can't compare other prisons, but when you hear about what goes on in U.S. prisons, it's not pretty. And what people say about people that go into prison is not nice. And there are very few people like me who say, well, maybe that's anecdotal. Very few people who I have interacted with say, you're supposed to um, assist the person in reattaching to the social contract of society. Um, are we doing that? It's much more heavy lifting. I think what we're doing is feeding them and making them work. Um, I know for one place where I consulted, they actually were interested in using people that were incarcerated to man telemarketing phone calls, wherein they actually were getting data, actionable data, or actual actionable information. So, like phone numbers they were getting for people, credit card data, et cetera, et cetera. And that was ultimately nixed, mainly because I said we would have to vet the incarcerated persons. Why were they there? Similar to this. Why were they there? What kind of prison is it, et cetera. But everybody deserves another chance if they commit a certain type of crime. I think that it's fine. The authors implemented several tests to validate the algorithm on the full population of individuals up for parole, and it included individuals who had hearings and were denied, et cetera, et cetera. So the results were that the study demonstrates the utility of algorithms for evaluating criminal justice decision making. Their analyses suggest that many individuals are being denied parole and incarcerated past their minimum sentence despite being a low risk to public safety, and they hope that by providing data on the predicted risks that they can add or aid in the reform efforts. I don't know. I think that it's impossible for an AI to read the room. And when you are going through a parole interview to see, hey, have you reconciled that your crime landed you in here? You are responsible for that crime, and have you done something to change the way that have you built coping mechanisms? Have you educated yourself while in prison? Because there are libraries, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, have you made fundamental changes, and will you do this again? An AI isn't going to hear that voice, see their eyes, their emotions, their actions, in the interview. Somebody can come in and just check boxes for the AI, but a human looking at that person can see that they're just checking boxes. So kind of interesting. We're actually going to run a little bit long tonight. I'm going to do 2 more articles. This next one. Oh, you know what? I didn't throw this one in the chat. So let's get that into the VOD. The next article is about, and the funniest one is at the end. Not this one. This one isn't very funny. This one is in the Word and Law. Wikipedia admin jailed for 32 years after alleged Saudi spy infiltration. Just to jump right into this, it says that Wikimedia Foundation released a statement to Ars, which is the source of this, Ars Technica, disputing the report and alleging that there was no infiltration. I'm just going to jump right on over to the article. Ashley Bellinger is the author of this. Activists call for the release of jailed Wikipedia volunteers. There's actually two that were jailed, one for 8 years, one for 32 years. I've heard about this before. To say it's ridiculous for why they're jailed is an understatement, because here in the United States, I can say pretty much anything that they were jailed for. Violating public morals, swaying public opinion. Swaying public opinion? What the hell am I being put in jail for? That's okay. I go out and I tell people, you know what? You should buy Mazda, not Hyundai. And I could be put in jail because somebody said or has an interest in, Hyundai being more profitable. It just doesn't make any sense. It says, today Wikimedia Foundation released a statement to Ars disputing the report, alleging that there was no infiltration, that Wikipedia admins have no ranks. And it's not really, I don't think it's that kind of a nature. I think it's if somebody is also working with the Wikipedia admins, all it takes is a little bit of social manipulation, and you can find out who it is that did this edit or confirmed that edit or whatever it might be. You find out who it is, you find out where it is off of an IP or something similar. It could be casual conversation in a Wikipedia chat room or group or something. And lo and behold, you end up in jail in Egypt. I guess I'm not going to get Egypt doing any sponsorships here, but it says, according to a joint statement from US-based rights group Democracy for the Arab World Now and Beirut-based SMEX, sources close to Wikipedia and interviews with the jailed administrators confirmed that those quote-unquote external parties were quote-unquote government agents acting as independent editors. These government agents acted as spies for Saudi authorities, the activists allege, identifying non-compliant administrators like those jailed for adding Wikipedia entries to include information that Saudi officials did not approve of. So there you go, folks. You need, if you are going to be doing something that is informational and it is antagonist of a government that does not promote and endorse free speech, even against itself, you had better man up or person up, I guess you could say, your level of privacy. Do not expose yourself in any way. I actually watch one streamer that is so careful about what they expose to the world because they don't want anybody showing up on their doorstep. I once was going to litigate against a global mega corporation, and suddenly my personal information was posted in a public-facing site, so much so that somebody showed up on my doorstep asking for information about a problem that they had. This turned into a short-lived conflict where ultimately they removed my data. But all it takes is somebody exposing that personally identifiable information. And the internet is extremely good at doing that when they're not powered by state. So be very careful out there. Let's go on to the next article. This one is probably the weirdest thing that I have seen for 2023 and 2022 combined. Mysterious antennas are appearing in Utah hills and officials are stumped. As first reported by KSL-TV 5 in Utah, people first began noticing the antennas a year ago. They're simple machines made up of LoRa fiberglass antennas a locked battery box, and a solar panel to power it, but it's bolted down very safe. Okay, I saw the construction of this thing. It's not cheap. It's not just kind of whimsically thrown over there. The Salt Lake City Public Lands Department has been pulling them down as they find them and told KSL TV that there have been many as a dozen. It's illegal to place structures on public lands without authorization. So let's go over to the Vice article. Matthew Galt, which again is just that is a writer's name if I've ever heard one, like John
Hey, the
Galt.
picture is much more pronounced than what I expected. I thought this was going to be a smaller array.
Right? No, this is not small. This thing stands probably 8 feet, maybe 10 feet tall, if I remember right. Full on battery pack that's sealed so that it can withstand the elements. It has a solar panel to recharge those batteries. So at night, it's still doing whatever it is that it's doing. I don't know of anything else that's in it, but I would love, absolutely love to tap into this thing. To find out what it is that it's relaying, what it is that it's sending and receiving. There's something more to it, and I wish that they wouldn't just pull them down. I wish that they would invite the FBI to come in and tap into these things. It definitely can be done. You can actually triangulate these things with 3 people just walking around with a scanner, a software-defined radio. You can watch the full bandwidth of in a software-defined radio on a laptop and see where the signal is strong and walk towards it, triangulate it. What ended up happening was while the KSL-5 TV was watching them take see how tall this is. This person is at least 5.5, 5'10". This thing is another 5 feet above it. So yeah, it's somewhere around 8 to 10 feet. At any rate, as they were pulling down this thing, it took them something like 6 hours to pull it down. 5 people hiking out there for however long it took to get there, and then the total time was 6 hours, I think. As the helicopter that was monitoring them was flying back, they found another antenna. So, quite fascinating.
I mean, some of these areas are pretty remote, so I'm not surprised that they're appearing without anybody noticing them, but it seems like it wouldn't be a quick setup from what's being described in the article.
So this could be daisy chaining a signal, and that the fact that multitudes of these are broken now means that signal isn't reaching wherever it is that it's supposed to be reaching. One person said that it might be something that has to do with crypto. I've actually purchased something that might be able to take advantage of something like this. And I have yet to receive it in 5 years. And basically what it is depending on the signal, the antenna can reach out and interact with others that are in this same crypto network. My understanding now of that is that it does not produce any value anymore. So, my pending refund still hasn't arrived. So at any rate, quite fascinating. Maybe it'll end up on the Y-Files. I don't know. If you haven't ever heard of the Y-Files, it's a YouTube channel that is really fascinating, kind of evergreen article or stories that he tells. This last one was really interesting. So go and check out the Y-Files. I'm endorsing them, but I have no relationship with them. I'm not an ad for them. It's just really interesting. So again, this is over at vice.com, and it's mysterious antennas are appearing in Utah's hills and officials are stumped. Maybe that guy that is the criminology PhD candidate or student was being controlled by these.
That would certainly explain a lot of things.
Yeah, that's a wacky situation too. Very sad, but um, go and check this out. Go and check this out. And that's it for today's ohmTown Daily News Show. There is a ton of information to link you. If you find an article, a title interesting, and you click on it, it'll take you to the channel that it's housed in, like the Daily News Show or Stock Marketeers, which is about the stock market and business. And once you're in there, you can comment. You need to be a citizen, so sign up. It's very fast and easy. Maybe I'll walk you all through it one of these days, and just make a ohmTown citizen account. Hopefully you don't remember the password when I type it in.
You look a little nervous.
Yeah, well, we're not all AIs, Some of us only have a limited amount of time, so I'm trying to make everything easy in ohmTown. But that's it for today. Just a reminder, I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown over there, ohmTown.com. And the booming voice from on high is the artificial intelligence that runs ohmTown.
Good evening, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow, and don't forget to tune in for Reality Hacker later.
Oh, put me on the spot right at the end. Ta-ta.